Hello everyone and welcome back to another Malifaux crew Unpack for 4th edition. This is Tabletop Odyssey and we are going to be exploring the Fae keyword and its master Titania today. So, let's dive straight into it. Who exactly is Titania and why would you want to play Fae? Well, Titania is the Queen of the Fae, which is a group of beings living in Malifaux's wild, and long before humans were in Malifaux, she ruled unrivaled. That is, until the tyrants came. These are godlike beings who tried to take over Malifaux. See, she fought back, and in some cases she managed to succeed, but unfortunately some of her followers thought that she had become too strong and had wanted to replace the tyrants. See, they locked her away in a magical prison for centuries, because her actions had released the grave spirit into Malifaux to stop the tyrants, and it left many of her people undead. But in this prison she waited, and waited, and then soon she was freed by Nekema, a Nephilim who had wanted revenge on her sister Lilith ruling in Titania's absence, freed Titania and stuffed her sister in the prison instead. Titania then sought the fealty of those within her lands, the Neverborn. She wanted to re-establish her empire of oak and ash and thorn, and now she thinks none can stop her. So why would you want to play as the Fae? Well, if you love the tales of Fae-like creatures and their mystical tales, that's all the fairies and the Feywild, stories of people being lost in the forest and returning centuries later, this might be for you. Perhaps you have no need for a name because a Fae stole yours. You might think that nature should prevail over civilization. Or maybe you really love A Midsummer Night's Dream. Perhaps you just want a crew that uses terrain to its advantage. Or maybe you insist everyone follow the third law. With that being said and done, let's see exactly what the Fae can do on the tabletop. First of all, we're looking at the Into Thorns keyword card. Now this is for the Withered Rose. She does have some new artwork on this that unfortunately I couldn't get the full art for the thumbnail, but here we are. Now, if you are going down this route, you're going for more of an aggressive route. Now, this keyword, first of all, has the Grasping Vines mask trigger attached to every Fae model, allowing you to move the target, an enemy, up to 3 inches, ignoring severe terrain towards an underbrush. The objective here is to get them sunk into your underbrush markers, which are 50 mil, concealing, dense and severe, so they're really hard to get out of once you're in it. On top of this, they have the attack action as a signature for unique Fae that throws out 2 underbrush markers within an inch of a target that you've dealt 1 damage to. It has an inbuilt mask, so you can Grasping Vines to pull them into it even further, and if you happen to pay a stone, you can deal X damage equal to the target, where X is the number of underbrush markers within 3, to a maximum of 3. So not only can you do 1 damage from the actual action, you can do an additional 3 from the stone, which is great, and obviously you're going to want to stack as many as possible on a target. I would suggest having Ithanna nearby to make this even more dangerous. You also have the suppressed token to consider. Suppressed tokens can stop magic actions from doing much, forcing them to use a stone or it fails, so something to consider when facing crews that are heavy magic users. Onto the Withered Rose herself. Now, she's got a bit of a glow up here, a lot more hair and some armor finally. She is a interesting model. She's got 7 willpower, which is a nice defense, and she couples this with Juggernaut, reducing all damage dealt to her to 3 as a maximum. This means that she is going to be lasting a lot of attacks, probably about 5 on average to get rid of her at max 3 damage. In addition to this, she also has flight, which with her 6-inch movement allows her to get across the board. It also allows her to ignore other forms of terrain. You can already ignore your own underbrush markers because it's friendly, but for anything else, she's going to ignore it too. She then has Wrath of the Wildlands. Now this is going to capitulate on all of the underbrush you're going to be throwing out, whether it's via your crew card action or using the Germinate action, which can make an underbrush marker within range and then place you in contact with it as well. Now this triggers with it, so when this model activates, you can drain a stone to deal 2 damage unresisted to all enemy models in base contact with underbrush, ignoring line of sight, and then you're going to heal off of that. So that 3 damage attacks to kill you, well, if you've got a chance to activate, as long as you can toss a stone, that's going to be even more. So enemies fighting her might just consider ignoring her entirely, because it's not efficient to do so. Now taking on from this, we also have the Thirsty Roots tactical action. Now she can target an underbrush marker and remove a remains or ski marker within 2 inches of that to draw a card. Remember, this can be your remains or scheme as well, so consider ways that you might be able to get those out. It's very good just to get an extra card in hand. She is, however, really going to love her 12-inch magic attack, the Withering. Because the Withering, it does a flat 3 damage, no raises remember, but if you do get a raise, instead of damage, you can give them injured, which is going to make subsequent attacks from both you and your other allies deal more damage. Well, they're more likely to land, which means more damage. It comes with 3 important triggers. One, which if they already have injured, which they will, is going to do an extra damage, so that's 4 damage. When you're trying to pump out the damage, this is great. It has the ram trigger, however, which allows you to steal a stone from your opponent. This is going to be incredibly important on fueling Wrath of the Wildlands, and also your stone trigger for this action, which allows you to target a model in base contact with the underbrush, and then a friendly model within 8 inches can place into base contact with them and declare a melee. You've got a few different targets in keyword here that might be useful, like Ithanna and Killjoy, but there are some out of keyword options you might want to consider too. Overall, she's a very fast, maneuverable, strong card. She's going to be very good at tanking damage and pulling people into her underbrush trap to deal unresisted damage to them. She has the Totem of the Gorar, however, which is going to frame how your crew is going to be structured a little. See, the Gorar does have a demise that once per turn, if it's killed, you can place it to an underbrush marker, remove it to heal 4, which is nice, but realistically, this model is going to be used for one major thing: mold of the other. If an allied minion dies, well, you can just become that minion, heal 3, and if you pay a stone, you can resummon the Gorar. So your minions, they don't have to fear dying. But until your minions do die, in case they do, there are some other things that you can do. First of all is charge in with your attacks. Maybe hand out a bit of injured or adversary. Your signature action, Gaze of the Serpent, handing out adversary can be very useful. And when you're engaged, you can constrict, which causes them to deal damage if they try and leave it. Tasty. But realistically speaking, you are probably turn 1 and most subsequent turns afterwards be spamming your signature Germinate to spam out underbrush markers. Remember, you can only have a maximum of 5, but with an 8-inch range on this, you can put them exactly in the right place, whether it's to be used for eerie gates or to be used to entrap enemies to kill. On the other hand, if you are wanting a more movement-oriented playstyle, a more controlling playstyle, Titania Autumn Queen might be the phase for you. See, Autumn Queen has a little bit more emphasis on suppressed, so she's probably the pick against those crews, but she has 4 abilities on her card. So first of all is the free underbrush markers that you're going to get at the start of turn 1. You get to make 3 of them anywhere on the table as long as they're not in base contact with an enemy. This does mean it can be even in their deployment zone, so on corner deployment especially, this is going to be quite disgusting. On top of this, you have 3 lovely abilities. First of which, if you are near an underbrush marker, your guys, once per activation, are going to get a free crow. Very nice. You are also able to drain a stone to place within a nearby underbrush marker when you suffer damage. A nice bit of way to escape melee, especially if they've already charged you. And then finally, you've got renewed growth, which allows you to, after you successfully attack an enemy, you can discard a card to make an underbrush next to them, bogging them down. Which brings me to the Autumn Queen herself. She is flying again with that 6-inch movement. She's got a bit more better distributed stats, 6 and 6 instead of 5 and 7. And her tankiness comes from the Protected Fae, which means that after this model is targeted, you can discard a card to make a friendly Fae nearby suffer it instead. This means that you do want a bodyguard sitting with her at all times, just to make use of this, provided you've got a card in hand. Royal Escort is great as well, because it means by draining a stone, her and 2 allies within 8-inch pulse can move up to 5 inches. This is a great deal of movement. It means that Autumn Queen really excels at plant explosives and the one where you're pushing markers over the center line. We'll remember it later and come back to it. Anyway, that additional movement is going to conserve AP for you to use on things like killing or interacting, which are going to be incredibly important. Now, to bring into this theme as well, we also have the Issue Command signature action, which is going to be incredibly important because you can tell an ally to declare an action. You can't use the same one, but the trigger also allows you to move either you or the target, so that's a lot of extra interacts, which allow you to push forward your markers and plant explosives with. She also has another signature, which is the Queen's Domain, which allows you to make an underbrush marker within range, plus an additional one for raise, with a stone to allow you to move 2 enemies towards them, which can pull them off objectives if you're playing Informants. She also has Sabotage Their Plans to remove enemy scheme markers and making your own, so she is very much this control aspect. Her attack is a very decent 2 damage attack that hands out suppressed against those magic crews. It is skill 7, so it's at least likely to go off, with a trigger to infuse a stone if you manage to kill. Focus on the models with less health if you're going to be attacking with her, just to try and get those stones. You also have the Totem Erymanthian Boar, which has a few things. You're not really going to be using its attack, and therefore Stampede, so I'll ignore that for the moment. You're mainly going to be using your Wyrdwood Soul when you activate to heal, because you have to stay alive, and then you're going to be either foraging to remove enemy scheme markers to draw cards from your discard, and using your Eerie Gate to place into base contact with underbrushes. So you're going to be using your underbrushes to teleport across the field and use this model as an excellent schemer. Obviously, provided that you have the underbrush set up in place. This means that you need to be planting those markers right at the start of the game in a nice path for it to move through, or be using other models to germinate markers in the right position. Now, what models can you take in the Fae crew? See, first up we've got Killjoy, and this model is divisive. I personally would choose the alternate model here, where they look more like an Autumn Knight, but regardless, going into the 10 cost Killjoy, they are expensive and 4 whip is not fun, but you do have 14 wounds and a demise that allows you to place within 8 and heal 4, provided there is an underbrush near there to remove. This does mean they're a little bit tankier than other 10 cost models, and they do take advantage of Ruthless and Thrill of Battle as a more offensive beta. Ruthless is going to be allowing them to ignore weird abilities like Terrifying, and the Thrill of Battle, when you're killing non-unique enemies, so that's minions, you can declare a stone to charge. So you'll notice a theme here that this model likes killing non-unique models, right? He also has Eerie Gates. Remember, those placement of your markers are going to be very important in getting him up the field. But mostly he's going to be hitting things with his Wyrdwood chains to move the targets towards you, pull them off of markers, informants, away from bombs, and then using the trigger to gain an extra melee. And then you've got the Wyrdwood Cleaver, which is stat 7 and 3 damage, so very likely to go off and a very nice damage value. You're going to be hitting raises a lot more often because you've got skill 7, especially against those of defense 5 or less. And you're getting a positive if you're in severe terrain, so underbrushes, this is great. You can add to that 3 damage with a crit strike, or you can use Decimate to target a non-unique model with an attack again. So you want to be targeting enemy minions and just destroying them. You have a trigger to heal as well. He is a lovely beta. There are other options in versatile and outer keyword that might compete with him, but he's relatively tanky, relatively okay movement, and a nice damage point. Competing with him, however, a little bit is Ithanna. Now, Ithanna does a lot. She is a very nice model with 12 wounds, better willpower with 6, and she has Don't Turn Your Back, which means that they're not going to be able to interact if you're near them, which is fantastic for shutting off things for bombs, or pushing those markers up the field. She also has 3 in countenance, so they ain't going to be cheating against her, so as long as you got cards in hand to have fun with them, she's not going to be taking a lot of damage either. But most importantly is the Deadly Bloom ability, turning your remains and underbrush markers within 4 hazardous. So if she's near that big pile of underbrush that you're going to be having in Withered Rose, they're going to be dragged through them and they're going to be taking damage and they're going to be struggling to get out of it. She has some interesting actions here. First of all, the Lacerating Roots. It's her signature action. This makes a remains marker that does then remove itself afterwards for a TN12 duel for 2 damage. With an interesting stone trigger here to remove tokens from enemies within range. So if they have tokens that you don't want them having, like Focus, for example, or Insight, you can chuck this out and hopefully pop off those annoying tokens. She has 2 attack actions here. First of all is a melee action, which is called Desmonia's Edge. It does 3 damage and heals an ally within 1. If there are remains or underbrush, make that 4. And if the target's got a friendly token, like Suppressed or Injured, also make it 4. So both very nice triggers on that. Remember, a mask as well will drag them through some underbrush, which if they haven't taken damage from hazardous already, your activation will do that as well. You then have Desmonia's Thirst, which is an 8-inch magic attack for 3 damage as well, which is fantastic. And if they're engaged by another ally, it's getting a positive with coordinated attack. I think this is the better attack to use the majority of the time. It allows her to stay within that bubble for the large part, and it allows her to use your other allies, your other friendly models, to deal damage off coordinated attack. Remember, you're getting a positive if they're engaged by them. So putting allies in positions dealing 3 damage, coordinated attack is going to be very strong. Make sure you have a lot of masks in your hand. Then we've got Aeslin. Aeslin is more of a magic caster here. She does not like those with Aegis, even though she's got it herself, because she's a spellbreaker ignoring magic defenses. She can also make a copy of a marker within 6 when she activates, because the cost of a stone with Shape the Land. So if you're really desperate to get another marker out, by all means. Remember, this does also include ski markers, so consider that if you're trying to score things like Harness the Leyline or detonate charges and snare, etc. She has 3 actions, 2 of which are signatures, first of which allows her to look at the top cards of her fate deck and place them in any order. I would suggest using this at the end of her activation to set up someone else. She also has counter magic to hand out suppress, remove tokens, and make scheme markers. You won't be using this one very often, unless you really need to get suppressed out. She also has a very solid 12-inch magic attack that hands out injured on a raise. It does 3 damage, which is a very solid value, and she has a chance of getting a crow to get a stone when it kills. So if you used in Autumn Queen, that's a trigger that you're going to be getting for free, remember? So that's very useful. Your tome is also great to declare the intuition straight away, which is lovely. A very interesting pick, worth a consideration. I think it definitely depends on the pool. Carnivorous Wyrdwood. Now this model you will be taking all of the time. They are absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, they only have 8 wounds with 5s on their defenses, but you have ways of making that high with bolstered. But they do have armor and laugh off, which makes them incredible tanks. They get to sit on a point, and as long as you've got cards, they ain't moving from it, and they're going to be annoying to get rid of. There are some caveats, however. You can't place them on terrain because of cumbersome, but you can place them anywhere on the board outside of 2 inches of a strat marker or a deployment zone, and you should do this, whether you're placing it in the center of the board to claim control of that, to take control of objectives or put down scheme markers turn 1, or whether you're in Autumn Queen, placing them right in their face on a corner deployment and going, you've got to get past me and all of this severe terrain if you want to get past. They've got a fantastic 4-inch melee, which is going to catch a lot of people, moves targets unaffected by severe terrain towards the model. So, oh, you're trying to run away? Nope, I'm pulling you back to me. Cruelty trigger, I can do it again. Writhing Roots, well, I can remove one of those remains or underbrush, get an extra damage if I need it, but most importantly, pick the bones, I can interact if I kill. Very solid triggers here, but Roots from below is something you might want to consider as well. See, you can ignore line of sight, and it deals 2 damage on a TN12 defense door. Most things have either 5 or 6, that's going to be either a 6 or a 7 on the card, but if they don't have line of sight, it's a negative. 6-inch pulse from behind a building? Oh yeah, you're on a negative now, good luck with that. I can then pay a stone to make a scheme marker in base contact with you, provided there's an enemy scheme marker within range. That's great. That's great, just steal your schemes, turn them to mine, or I can just place within 3. Lovely. Great tactical action there. But interestingly, you've also got tenacity, so if you've got that card, you just heal. Be annoying, be in all the most frustrating places for your opponent, right in their face, or right in the center of the board, or on an objective that you want to be able to hold. You ain't going anywhere, this is yours now, and you can quite easily drag people into a position they don't want to be in. Now you've got your minion choices. First up we have the Autumn Knight. It is cost 5, which is nice and cheap. There is not a lot of reasons you're going to be taking this model, if I'm being honest. You do have some nice defensive tech with armor and barbed in brambles, which is going to hand out injured or adversary after resolving attacks against them that damage you. But luckily, the main thing about these guys is that both of their actions are signature. You can either hand out bolstered with a little bit of reposition, or removing tokens to create remains or scheme. Remember, these remains can be hazardous near Ithanna. This is a nice thing to do. Bolstered can really improve the defenses of some of your guys that you are a little bit more worried about. See the Wyrdwood. But otherwise, yeah, bolstered's not a great condition. You do, however, have a signature on your attack as well, which means that you're going to be having 3 attacks a lot of the time, and if you're in base contact with a underbrush, it's going to be a positive as well, which is nice and tasty. You can heal off a trigger or move targets into your thorny embrace, or deal more damage if they're in base contact with terrain. So They can do a lot of damage for 5 stones, but they are also fairly fragile. Something to consider here. For Barbed Brambles, I would choose Injured over Adversary. You have a lot of other ways to get positives, and you have a risk of getting a Black Joker. Injured is just going to help guarantee damage. Then you've got the Bultungin, which is a fantastic 4-cost model, if I'm being perfectly honest. While they are incredibly fragile at only 5 wounds and really poor defenses, their main strength is their speed. They have speed 7 with Deadly Pursuit, so at the end phase they get to move an extra 4 inches. And after you resolve and interact, a friendly beast can move towards you, which means working with another Bultungin or a Rougarou can be really good here. Remember, it's friendly beast as well. There are a lot of beast models within this faction that can benefit from this. Combat Finesse is nice to stop melee actions being cheated, but really magic and guns are something you should fear here. Taking that into account, unfortunately you do not have a signature action built in, so you're relying on crew cards. But you get a Baying Howl, which can hand out Adversary and move friendly beasts. It's a nice to have. You won't be using it very often. You also probably won't be using your attack very much, either your Root Fang. It only does 1 damage, so unless you're doing it for the coordinated attack, which is the only situation you really want to be doing this, probably pass. This guy's going to be interacting and moving most of the time, and they're very cheap at doing so. Moving on, we have the Rougarou, which is the slightly more undead, bigger brothers of the Bultungin. If the Bultungins are werewolves, Rougarou are wolf wares. These guys are similarly fast at speed 7 with Deadly Pursuit as well, and they've got a rush making their charge 9 inches. It's fantastic. These guys do cost 3 more though to consider. Their attack does benefit from the charge, gets an extra damage and can move the target into those nasty brambles, so that could be a 3 damage charge with Drink Blood to help recover that 9 health. If it's Adversary, you get an extra damage, so if you've been handing that out, that's great. Otherwise, it's going to hand out Adversary too. Nice to have, but the signature is where it truly shines. Intimidating Roar is incredible, especially in things like Informants. Pushing people off of markers is a way to score you points. I would be taking at least 1, if not 2 of these guys in most of my Fate crews. They're that good. Which brings me on to my out of keyword and versatile choices. Now this is a little bit of a cheat. Technically it's versatile. This model last edition used to be a Fey model, and it still kind of behaves like it is. It is a 9-cost model with 13 wounds. It's proper tanky despite the low willpower of 4. It does have Juggernaut reducing damage to 3, which means it's going to take a while to get through it. Combining that with Terrifying, putting them on negatives to hit you, means this guy is probably not worth trying to kill most of the time. They have Don't Turn Your Back as well, stopping those engagements, especially if you can get this boy up the field. He's going to be really annoying. But why are we taking this guy over some of our keyword models? Well, first of all, we've got the Grasping Tentacles, moving the target 5 inches, and if it's interrupted, they get a duel that can take 2 damage on a TN15 speed. It can raise its damage 0, not dash, so if you get a raise, it will do damage. 6-inch melee here, and it moves them 5 inches, puts them right into your bubble of death. This is a model I consider more with Withered Rose. And the main reason for that is because of its jaws combo well with a stone trigger on Titania's attack, those you consume, because it allows this boy to run in and smack with 4 damage, which is fantastic, especially because it can raise. And this model is going to get a positive if it's a lower size as well. Remember, if you're also stacking Injured, effectively treat this as skill 6, and if you've got Adversary, well, you might be having a double positive. He also has Onslaught, so he's going to be doing a lot more damage, he has a chance to heal himself, and oh well, if they've got adversary, you can deal an extra damage. Funny that you combo well with the adversary guys already. Oh, and if you needed another way of handing out adversary, you've got a Raging Bellow, which hands out adversary if you get a raise on this, so you're throwing out a 10, but it forces them to discard a card or be moved 3 inches away, which could be interesting in pushing them into your bubble or pushing them off markers. And the trigger for Rampage gets you exactly where you need to be. This guy is a monster, he's massive, and he really should just be considered Fey already. I don't know why he's not. Now, on the flip side of the coin, we have the monster that is Miranda. Now, if you are willing to pay 11 stone cost, you are going to have the most versatile model in the faction on your side. How is this model not loyal? I will never understand. This model is absolutely fantastic at doing everything. It is a keyword in a model. It can do basically anything. Like, its 5 defense, 6 willpower is totally misleading, because if this model dies, you can just replace it with any other chimeral model that doesn't have a title, heal 4, and attach the upgrade that allows you to pay a stone to replace it with Miranda and heal 2. So you can just come back to Miranda. This means that you can turn into a mole man if you want movement. You can turn into something like Kojo if you want massive damage. The choices are really there. She also ignores severe and hazardous terrain, which means that she doesn't care about your own underbrush markers. She's going to be moving through them too. And her own allies, which she is to herself, she gets a positive to her defense. So that 5 doesn't look too bad anymore. It's a 5 positive. She, on her attacks, she has a flurry of claws that does 2 damage with a +2 on a raise. So if you're saving those things, remember, when targeting models with injured, she's basically stat 7. She could be doing 4 damage straight off the bat. And she gains an instinct token, which can be quite fun on a crow. Nice to see. She also acts as a healer. What? So if you need a healer, pay a stone, she can hand out some stuff there. And she can attach mutation upgrades to the target. Now, notice that it is only if they can already get a mutation upgrade. So if you're hiring other stuff, there is that. But you can heal yourself. So you can just attach it. Oh, Shaped by the Wild, ally only, attach a mutation upgrade. So she can give a mutation to herself here, remember? And gain an instinct to boot. Now, the upgrades that she can get from this is either going to give her armor, making her way more durable, or stealth, again, similar situation here, more defensive benefits. It can give her flight if terrain becomes more annoying. You probably won't need it though. Or ferocity, which once per turn receive raises. You can deal a damage to yourself to gain an additional raise. And remember, your raises do +2 damage. Why would you not be using that? And at any point, you can, when you're declaring any non-general action, so that's everything on your card basically, you can get a positive to it and discard the upgrade instead. I wouldn't really discard, to be honest. There isn't actually a limit on these. I think you can have plentiful 2, so you can have 2 at a time, 2 of each, but just keep stacking them on there. It is your signature action. You also have another signature, which is great. You can tell an ally or friendly beast. Oh, friendly beast? Like the Rex, the Rougarou, or the Bultungin? Interesting. They can move their speed, which is great for unpacking. And on a ram, that's a charge instead. Handing out instinct can also be quite interesting. I would go into more depth with her, but quite frankly, she needs a whole video. The Chimera video to be exact, which might just be my next Neverborn video. She is utterly fantastic. If you've got the stones, why wouldn't you? She does literally everything. Now we're heading into the back end of this video. We're going to look a little bit at our tactica. If you are taking Withered Rose, you're going for more of an aggressive build. Think about where you're putting those underbrush. Are you placing them down for Eerie Gates, or are you going to be stacking 3 or more right on an enemy model that you've isolated? using your triggers to pull them into your mess, and then attacking them, and using things like coordinated attack and those you consume to smash those models to pieces. Don't forget her main attack also gives you stones, steals stones from enemies, which you can be using to fuel these things. When she activates, pay that stone 2 damage for anything in markers, so make sure the underbrushes are in base contact with enemies. Make sure it slows their movement down. Remember, if you can slow someone's movement down, they can't get to points, they can't get over the line, and it limits their ability to score. Now, of course, the main thing that limits their ability to score is being dead, which you're very good at doing too. When you're looking at the Gorar, think about who are your priority minions that you want to recover. I would be having Rougarou on the field here because I think they're the best at doing everything. They're good at killing, they're fast, and they can score. Remember, scoring's a little bit difficult when you're a summon, but turning the Gorar into a Rougarou and then resummoning itself can be very useful if they manage to die. Think about where you're putting Ithanna as well. She wants to be right in the thick of that bubble of underbrush markers because she turns them hazardous. And also, she's just really good at killing herself. So focus fire models one at a time, build that large trap that you struggle to escape from. Use your cheaper models like your Bultungin to get up the field and do your scoring while you're creating this nice tar pit for your enemies to fall into. Now let's look at the Autumn Queen. Remember, she is a lot more flexible. She's going to order models up the field to engage with the enemy. So on corner, as I said before, this is where you want to be placing those markers right in their deployment zone. Block them in there, make their movement suffer, place that Wyrdwood, like Carnivorous Wyrdwood, in the way, and just watch them cry because they're going to struggle to get out of that. Yeah, your Wyrdwood's probably going to die. But if you can stop 2-3 models from getting up the field, that's 2-3 models that aren't scoring informants, aren't scoring plant explosives, or doing other things, right? On other deployment zones, consider establishing your route for your Eerie Gates. You've got it on your totem, you've got it on Killjoy. Think about how they're going to be using them to jump from them to each other. And be using your orders on Killjoy or Ithanna. They're going to be getting extra actions here, so that's extra attacks. Maybe you want to use it on the Rex, extra attacks. Use it on your things like your Rougarou and your Bultungin to scheme. They're going to be getting extra movement or interacts from this, so this is really good for Boundary Dispute. That's the one I was forgetting. She's great for Boundary Dispute and plant explosives. Sorry for my hesitation earlier. Remember, Suppressed is a great condition to hand out into magic-based crews. Things like Molly, for example. They're going to really struggle with this matchup because they're going to be forced to pay stones to use their magic attacks. So anyone who relies on magic attacks, this crew is a lot better for it because Autumn Queen has it on her attack. Withered Rose focuses more on injured. She likes her suppressed. Think about exactly who your opponent is before choosing the title. I think that Withered Rose is probably better, slightly better on informants and better on recover evidence. Autumn Queen is better on boundary disputes and bonds. Okay, plant explosives. That's probably the distribution that I would do. With that being said, we have made it to the end of our video, so I hope you have enjoyed. I hope this was helpful in some regard, gave you a little bit of insight in what all of the models do and where to use them. I'm sorry for those who like Autumn Knights, they are very beautiful models, but I probably wouldn't be using them much at all. There are better models that do their things, and there are better schemers for cheaper. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give us a like, write a comment about who you'd like to see next, and if you really love my content, please do me a favor and subscribe. I really appreciate all of the help that you guys are doing. It makes this game special, really, having such a fantastic community, both at my locals and online. You guys are amazing, and I hope you have a great time. Up next will be Guild, so please get voting on who you would like to see for that next. Thank you very much, and goodbye.